How's it going, guys? And welcome back to Katawa Shoujo. We gotta continue this visual novel and see how we will progress. Or how I will progress this story and which route. I still don't think I have met all of them. I think there's one more. Before I can open my small bag of food, Lily's busying herself with the thermos and tea bags as Hanako is setting out both their lunch boxes. So, is this what you meant by... Wrong voice. So, is this what you meant by coming here almost every day? Yes, Hanako and I usually have lunch here. It suits both of us, so we ended up using this room regularly. After seeing Hanako's reactions to me over the past couple of days, I can understand why that is a boon. That, and Lily being able to get some quiet away from her class as well. I take my seat last, after Lily's poured the tea for us and sits down. Now Hanako's there. She's not drinking? Oh wait, they don't have any. None of them have tea! They're just sitting there. The more time I spend with these two girls, the more I think they're perfect foil to Misha and Shizune. Even without a voice, Shizune is a direct and brash, and Misha seems to get along with everyone. On the other hand, Lily's a soft-spoken and relaxed, while Hanako seems to be the shyest girl I've ever met. So how are you faring in Yamako, Hisao? You seemed a bit flustered before. Apart from getting lost every now and then, and being crash-tackled outside my classroom? Fine, I guess. You look pretty hurt from before. Are you really okay? For a brief moment, I considered telling Hanako and Lily about my condition, but then I hold it back. I can't tell why, but for some reason I feel uncomfortable talking about it to these relative strangers. Even if they are being pretty friendly. Yeah, it's nothing. I was just a bit startled. Judging from the two girls' expression, I don't think they are buying it. But what I assume is their way of respecting my privacy. They don't press the matter. I guess that is one of the unwritten rules around here. Don't ask. Even if some conditions are obvious, like Hanako's, there's still bound to be a story involved. Everyone has things they don't feel comfortable speaking about, and I think everyone recognizes that. So, how long have you been in this school? You both seem to know your way around pretty well. Well, I've been here since the start of high school, but only moved into the dormitories a year ago. Hanako joined at the start of high school as well, and moved to the dormitories when she did, if memory serves me right. That's right, since high school. So you've known each other since then? Since I moved, yes. Hanako lives next door to me, so it's only natural, right? Right. Yeah, of course. Living next to somebody is probably reason enough to befriend them, though I'm guessing that Lily's blindness played a part in it as well. I can't imagine Hanako's easily making friends with someone who has to deliberately avoid looking at her scars. With the immediate conversation dried up, we start to eat our lunch. It isn't long before the bells are signaling the end of this break. Like me, the girls pack up their lunches as efficiently as they set them out. I guess I better be off. Are you going to go with Hisao, Hanako? Hanako looks up at me, and for a second I can see that she's considering skipping class, maybe just to avoid walking to the classroom with me. Yes. I don't know what to think of it. Hanako really is delicate to the point of breaking if looked at the wrong way. It makes me a bit nervous too, but I push the feeling aside, trying to be as natural as I can. We should hurry then. Class has already started by the sound of it. Lily gives a nod of farewell as she bends down to take her cane. Hanako and I fling out before her. Oh, filing out. Darn it, that... Oh. Just look at that. Just look at that. We walk quickly down to the empty halls to our respective classes. As we reach the door to Lily's 3-2 classroom, she turns towards me. Hisao, thank you for sharing lunch with us today. My pleasure, Lily. And with that, we part ways, Lily entering her classroom and leaving Hanako and I to make off to our own. She's still looking like she wants to run away. So do you really want to go back to class now? Yes. Okay then. I feel like I should say something more to her, but it's hard to come up with anything that would be appropriate and safe enough. And Lily was right. The more time we spend out there, the more explaining we have to do. I open the rear door to the class and walk in. The teacher looks at me and opens his mouth to say something. However, as Hanako follows me in and closes the door, he simply nods to us and continues his lecture. This is the third time that Hanako had her truancy practically ignored. There's definitely something going on here. We make our way to our seats, and I notice that Misha and Shizune is both missing as well. I wonder if it is some form of informal agreement with the staff, or if it's just a perk afforded to the unique students of the school. Try to make a little disturbance as I can. I extract the relevant textbook from my bag and start catching up. The class goes on quietly. The teacher seems to be okay persons, despite the weird first impression I got, and the material is relatively interesting. However, the way he teaches is really bizarre. It's as if he expects that everyone is a natural genius. When the final bell sounds, I realize that there's still a lot of time left in this day, and I'm left wondering what to do. It's odd that the hospital and I had 24 hours a day of free time, but here filling the considerably shorter hours feels difficult. Everyone else leaves, and I'm left alone with the teacher. Muto is examining the assignment sheets and we were working on earlier, marking them with a red pen. That's what happened when I read too fast. Raising his eyes from his papers briefly, he noticed me and furrows his brow. What is it, Nakai? I jumped at him addressing me, but I guess it's natural to spark some conversation since there's nobody else around. Nothing. Just thinking about what I do after school. The teacher slowly puts the cap on the pen that he's holding and arranges his papers into a stack, cracking it against the desk twice. He seems very methodical. For a brief moment, I'm reminded of Shizune, but the teacher is more unhurried and relaxed, much more routine. You have no plans? No, I consider joining a club, but I don't know what kind of club would interest me. Go observe the meeting of someone else's club. Might pique your interest. I guess. I don't know how to continue from here. Muto is looking at me in a way that makes me quickly want to take the words back to avoid a conversation. But I can't, so I have to forge ahead. I just don't know how to deal with people. I mean, the other students. I'm talking to people and everything, and it's not that I'd be isolated or anything. I just don't know what to think about. The disabilities, it feels that I'm being impolite if I pay attention to them, and it's weird to ignore them. Damn if I do, damn if I not. The teacher scratches his cheek absent-mindedly, looking very unresponsive. Things are only an issue if you make them one. You can talk normally with someone, even if they're blind or something. Try to look behind the superficial. There's not a single student here who isn't just a normal kid behind whatever they might have at first glance. He says the same thing as Yuko did. I know they're right, but it's hard. How can you not consider, for example, Shizune's deafness, when the only way to communicate with her is to talk through Misha? Or Hanako? It's not like you can ignore her face. But I'm interrupted by the door of the classroom suddenly slamming open. Teacher! Misha crashes in, hands straight with enthusiastic greeting. Her voice loud and lively enough to wake the dead from their graves. She starts towards teacher's desk with her bouncing step, hands energetically swinging with the rhythm. Muto, visibly dismayed by the interruption, and Misha in general, slumps in his chair. Mikado. Misha stops her tracks and looks around cluelessly, as if she's sensing from his tone that something is wrong, but has no idea what. Yes? We've talked about volume control before. Yes! But she doesn't lower her voice at all, and the teacher just rubs his eyes. So, what is it? I need help! We are running out of supplies in the festival stands. This is a distress! She wears a pink slip of paper she's holding around. So, go get more supplies from the art room. What's the problem with that? Plywood! Plywood is always the problem. Last time we wanted more, there was only a little. But that time we just took it all and went with that. Now there's like none left there. So, do you know where there is some? Where there is some? I don't understand. How would I know? Sichan, I mean, the president thought that the teacher would know what there's plywood. Was she wrong? Muto looks like he's in great pain, frowning with his entire sense, and Misha doesn't get it at all. Looking at the two of them communicate is terrible, like looking at a man being tortured by drilling his skull open while blasting pop music at full volume at the same time. I'm afraid I have no idea if there's any plywood in the school, let alone where it would be if there was any. Ah, what should I do? Perhaps try to find Mr. Nomiya. I'm quite sure he would know where to find everything you need. You'd have to pry them from his cold dead hands, but that's a different matter. Ah! I don't have time! We're so busy! She holds her head with both her hands, looking as despairing as it's possible for a person like her. Without even noticing, she crumples the note she's holding against her hair. I shouldn't be fetching these things! There's so much to do and we're falling behind the schedule! Otto looks at her gravely and then suddenly smiles. Smiling doesn't really fit his face. I think it'd be better if he didn't. I wonder if you can get some temporary help. He switches to staring at me focusedly with a hard expression, as if trying to say, go make some friends. Eh? I guess I can give you a hand. You can? Thanks, Ichan. You're really nice. She paused, does a double take, and then points at me with her finger, yelping, ah! And looking very puzzled. Come to think of it, what's Ichan doing here? Class is over, you should be having fun! We just had a little chat. Oh no, it's not detention, is it? Are you in trouble, Ichan? No, I'm not. Is Ichan in trouble, teacher? No, he's not. Otto sighs deeply and feel I have to help Misha to get off her teacher's back. So, what do you need? Here's the list. I can try to find the plywood from somewhere, if there's none in the art room. She offers me the note she's holding. I take it, hesitating a bit. I'd said I'd help you, but this has no implication on whether I'm joining the council or not. Ah. Still, thanks, Ichan. Try to be quick. We're in the stall building streak now. We must hurry, hurry, hurry! She bounces off the classroom, leaving me and the teacher looking at each other with something that feels like a silent agreement. Well, there you have it, Nagai. You have something to do now. Please, don't sound so smug. Looking at the list with a number of items ranging from paint to plywood, all written with small, neat handwriting, that is undoubtedly shizness, I have a sigh. I'll be going then. Waving the long list and limply at the teacher, the classroom's closets closest to ours are designated belongings to classes 3-1 and 3-2. On the right side, 3-4 on the left side. Each door looking exactly the same. Further down the corridor, still with identical doors, are rooms that didn't think we have used for classes. I guess the art room is not a classroom as such. I carefully push it open the furthest door and peek in. It's a classroom, but it seems rather badly kept or not in use. Am I in the right place? Desks and chairs are all around the room. A thin layer of dust settled on them. There are some easels in the corner, or at least this looks like the right place. The room is flushed in sunlight. From the big windows, shadows creeping all over the desks. Specks of dust are dancing in the stagnant air, making the beams of light almost visible. Jokingly, I called into the empty room. Anybody ho? Anybody ho? Like he's looking for some hoe. Something catches my eye and I stop mid-sentence. What? What? Oh, she got no arms. Whoa. Sitting on a desk with a short-haired girl, curiously wearing a boy's uniform, with a fork between her toes, a morsel of food stuck firmly at the end. This odd way of dining seems to be caused by her apparent lack of hands, but her presence here is what takes me aback even more. How did I miss her before? She's sitting in a corner very still, but I still somehow took her as a part of a furnishing, or a statue at first glance. I'm not being too observant today as a whole. The girl seems to be frozen in place, staring at me with her huge eyes like a rabbit in headlights. She's staring at me, her mouth wide open, ready to accept the fork. I'm staring at her, my mouth wide open, suddenly remembering I didn't finish my sentence and trying to think if I should. Anybody ho? Oh. The weird stillman keeps us both stunned into silence, punctuated only by the wall of clock ticking rhythmically. Hello! The girl stuffs the forkful in her mouth, and is now staring at me expectantly while chewing. This is a bit awkward. Hello, I was told to pick up some supplies from here. For some festival stars, I think. I didn't think there would be someone here. There isn't, that's why I came here too. She picks up another forkful. Doesn't that mean you're here then? She raises her eyebrows as if she was suspecting my observation was false. You're pretty observant. I guess it does. But who are you? The girl is pretty straightforward, isn't she? I'm Nakai. He's Nakai. I just transferred in on Monday. I'm Rin. Tezuka Rin. Rin Tezuka. Yeah, I won't shake hands with you, but at least we know who we are. That's very nice. Her deadpan manner of talking makes it hard to determine whether she's joking about shaking hands or not. It kinda bothers me. Joking about these matters doesn't feel appropriate at all. Well, I'm trying to figure out what's appropriate and whether this girl is. She seems to have lost interest in me and now gazing yellingly bad at her food. Can I continue my lunch if you don't mind? If you don't mind me, I won't mind you. If you need to get your stuff, the supplies are in the back. Go right ahead, but lunch? School's already over for the day. What word would you use then? There's no word for a meal you eat after lunch, but before dinner, right? It bothers me very much, but I don't really know what I should say. Just say meal. Just say meal. I mean, I don't know. I don't think you're supposed to eat a meal between lunch and dinner to begin with. But I'm hungry now, and my delicious boxed lunch would go to waste otherwise. I have curry. It's very delicious, with much decisiveness. Rin once again picks up the fork between her toes, and at least with as much politeness she points it straight at me. So Nakai, what brings you to this place? Like I said, I was told to look for these things. No, the school. From outside, you look fine. What is your problem? What is your problem inside? Well, she is straightforward. I come to a full stop, holding my mouth, but not letting a word out. I can guess. I'm good at guessing. Better than most people. Rin cuts me off before I can answer a question. Or skirt around it somehow. I don't know which I should have done. I froze in front of this issue again. I haven't even told anyone here about my condition. Or maybe it's only because it hasn't really come up. I do get the feeling that it's not making issues of this. It's a part of social code here, as the teacher said. I wonder if people here could relate. Probably not any better than any normal person could. I can't relate to Shizune's circumstances, or Lily's either. Naturally, while I go through this in my head, Rin keeps considering that what my condition could be, with an overtly contemplative her face. She puts her fork between her lips, and leans back, looking at the ceiling, as if the answer was written up there. A beam of light illuminates her face from the window side, creating a mask of dark shadow on the other side. I don't think it's anything in your head, and something in your guts would be boringly ordinary, like this lunch of mine, and less delicious. The problem must be in your pants! The messed up Sherlock Holmes kind of statement and her sheer lack of tact is what's delivered that catches me completely off guard. I think I might have reeled back even physically as Rin's eyes widen in revelation and astonishment. So I was right. There's something wrong with your tackle, isn't there? Still partially in shock, but recognizing the need to reply something, I spit out the first thing I can think of. No! Nothing like that! I have a heart problem! Arrhythmia! I said it. More like blurted it out, but I said it. The girl in front of me purses her lips together and glowers at me, looking very disappointed. How boring. Trouble with the pants would have been much more scandalous. As with this reaction, I'm sorry to let you down. I forgive you. I collect people. And a person with you, you know, that kind of problem wouldn't have been really great. Would have been really great. Collect people? People with different problems. Huh. So you just, like, go around asking what's wrong with them? Pretty much. I see. With little left to say, Rin resumes her lunch, and the conversation dies away. But I keep thinking about what I said. What was said? Now I'm just making up words because I'm trying to read this fast. It's the first time I told anyone else about my condition. All the other people have either known about it already or heard about it from someone else. I didn't need to know about it. Like every other student here so far. Should I have told it as a natural part of introductions? Is it expected of me? Hi, I'm Hisao. I have a serious heart condition. Is that how I'm supposed to go around introducing myself from now on? As if our disabilities would define us. What a disgusting thought. Or maybe this Tezuka girl just has an unnatural interest in such things. As I walk to the back of the room to pick up the items on Misha's list, a chance opens to study Rin from the corner of my eye. Her hair is a burnt auburn, almost orange. A cropped short, long hair would probably be impossible with no arms. The boy's uniform and the lack of arms make her look very thin, almost scrawny. She is not particularly pretty except for her murky green eyes, which flicker restlessly from below her short bangs even when she eats. The distance of the shadow makes it seem like they don't reflect sunlight at all, but instead absorbs all of it within them like deep wells. She moves her feet almost as deftly as a normal person would use their arms. However, I can see how this sight will discomfort people, especially while eating. It makes me feel a bit uncomfortable at least. I hesitate to think about the word unnatural, but it's too late now, isn't it? I keep searching the cabins and shelves for Misha's things, but after enough time passes, the silence grows too uncomfortable, so I try to force some conversation out of this strange girl. So do you always eat alone at this late? And this late? Or do you get the occasional visitor? Visitors? Maybe you're my first occasional visitor, but I don't always eat alone either. Sometimes I eat with a certain person on the roof, if she's not horsing around. Horsing? She likes to do sports. Oh! And that's all I can think of. Both of us fall silent again as Rin forks the last bite of her meal in her mouth. I look down at my haul and double check it with Misha's list. It seems I have everything except plywood. So I think I have all the things now. That's very nice for you. Don't feel obligated to stay. I was about to take a nap anyway. You need to do whatever you're going to do with that stuff anyway, right? Or perhaps you like to watch girls sleeping? I'm not sure what to make of this, but Rin looks serious. Even if I did, I think I have to be going. I'll catch you around, Tezuka. You can call me Rin. I feel that our relationship is at that point good enough to warrant this much. Oh really? Already friendship established. I was already turning to make my exit, but she draws me back in. Fine then. I'm Hisao. Then you are. Rin looks at me hard in the eyes, but that intimidating feeling you get when someone stares at you isn't there. It's like she's actually not looking at me at all. She blinks a couple of times, but I can't figure out why a pause like this would just pop between us out of nowhere. See you later, Hisao. There is something like a tiny smile in there in her face. Maybe. I quietly back out of the room. As I shut the door in front of my face, I whisper to myself, what an intriguing person. From inside, I hear a muffled sing-song voice. I heard that. What did she hear? I jump at the sudden appearance of Misha, who I had not heard approaching despite the completely empty hallway. Somehow she's gotten to jumping distance of me without making a sound. Creepy, it briefly reminds me of Kenji's nutty theory about global feminist conspiracy. But I pushed that aside. She's standing slightly behind Misha. Looks aloof as she couldn't have heard the remark that drew Misha's attention, but Misha is visibly excited. No, wait! More than probably, who is in there? There's no club meetings today. She tries to curiously peek past me, even though the door prevents her from seeing anyway. What are you doing here? You took so long that we had to check what's wrong. That's no good, Hit-chan. She wags her finger at me and scolded me. I found plywood, but everything else is still missing because you're tardy. Oh, sorry, I got the things here. Was just going to bring them. I think you were up to some mischief, Hit-chan. Who was in there with you? I wonder. Misha signs something quickly to Shizune, pointing her ear a couple of times. Shizune immediately pushes her way past me and opens the door to the classroom I just left. I can only imagine the shock she's experiencing. With Shizune's diligence and attitude, the insolence of daring to deface school property by sleeping on top of it must be too much to bear. And indeed, she stares at Rin, frozen at place apart from the slight but noticeable trembling on her shoulders. From suppressed rage, I'm sure. Instead of blowing up, Shizune just takes a few deep breaths, adjusts her glasses, and slaps the door shut, turning to sign furiously at Misha. Maybe she did blow up, but I can't understand it. She shoots a very loaded stare at me too, as if I somehow might fault that Rin is sleeping in one of the tables. I hope she is not getting any funny ideas about the reason of my tardiness. Hello. Rin's voice comes from the other side of the door, and it takes a few eye blinks to realize she might have trouble opening it. I open the door to find Rin directly behind it, looking at us with a half-interested, half-sleepy face. Hello. Miss Tezuka? What do you think you're doing? You absolutely are not permitted to use school property for such, disgraceful activity! It sure is suddenly very crowded in here. I didn't know I was this popular. It's hard to say whether she's happy or unhappy about this turn of events. At any rate, she ignores she's in the Misha scolding, so they have no choice but to drop the issue. She taps Misha's shoulder, pointing at Rin and makes some quick signs. Popularity aside, please don't do that anymore. Anyway, how is your project going? Will it be done for the festival? Rin looks at him blankly, apparently at ease under some pressure she could stare is putting on her. I keep wondering about that myself too. And? We'll think about it harder. And Misha signs her reply to Shizune and first turns into an unsatisfied frown. Miss Tezuka, please try to take this seriously. It'll be a disaster if the wall looks like someone threw up their lunch onto it. We'll think more seriously. Misha actually giggles at that, but Shizune doesn't, not even after translation. She just shakes her head, takes the materials from me, and takes off with Misha in tow. Rin frowns thoughtfully as she looks after the retreating student council duo. How rude. It's true though, I must finish my project before the weekend. There will be dire consequences if I don't. The end of the world as we know it, like weekends usually are, but more dire. Much more dire. Maybe I'll postpone my nap to unforeseen future. I'm about to ask what project she has in one of these apocalyptic consequences, but she walks back into the art classroom. Since you have nothing to do, would you give me a hand? This paint can doesn't fit into my bag, but I need it. She kicks lightly at a huge can of paint that's lying on the floor next to the table she was sitting and sleeping on. It lets out a dull clang. Being the gentleman that I am, I naturally pick it up. Heavy. Yeah, sure. Where do you need to take it? Away. And with that, she takes off the hallway. To the hallway, me and the paint can following, since there's little choice for either of us. The hallway is quiet and empty now. With Shizune and Misha gone, we are to leave towards the stairwell at the other end. Every 10 or 15 or 20 steps, I have to change the can from one hand to another because the thin handle cuts into my palm. At least it keeps my arm from tiring too fast. Rin strolls on beside me with an uneven pace that I have trouble matching. Or maybe I'm walking weird because of the extra weight. It seems one of us is constantly walking too slow or too fast, and I can't figure out which. 2 flights of stairs below, trouble appears in front of the head nurse and his fox-like grin. You call that a fox-like grin just because of the eyes? Ah, Mr. Nakai! What a happy coincidence! Tezuka too, of course! He nods courteously to Rin, who does not acknowledge him back, then turns to me because obviously it's me who he had some business with. There is something I forgot to mention on Monday, and I not wait impassively because I can't even begin to guess what he forgot. The feeling of the handle delving deeper into my skin doesn't make it feel enthusiastic about this interruption either. It's about your medications. Since you haven't been on that long on your current medication, there might be some unexpected side effects which might require adjusting dosages, or even changing to another kind of medication. So, we will have a few tests regularly, but that I want is for you is to keep an eye on everything in your condition that feels off. If you get what I mean. Nausea, headache, anything. And come see me if something happens. Alright. So, how about you? Everything fine? I give up and drop the can to the floor before answering him. Apparently he takes longer than my biceps can handle. I'm about to say something generic as an answer, but then I realize how often I've done that already. Other people had asked me that too, teachers and students here. My parents, visitors, nurses, doctors at the hospital, everyone seems to be concerned about that. It's natural for a hospital, not so much for a school. Except this school. This is a small school, and both the student base and the faculty seems to be very tightly knit. At least that's the feeling I'm getting. And this is not the kind of school that gets transfer students too often. The thought sends shivers up my spine, but I give a generic answer. Anyway, that's great! Also, one other thing. My sources tell me that you've been at it neither at school track nor even the pool, so I'd like to know if you have taken up exercising as I asked. Of course I haven't, but his way of inquiring gives me the feeling that I should have been running my ass off the track since the very first day. You have people spying on me? Not as such. I just happen to know a few people, but that's not the issue here, so don't try to slip out of it. Well, I was actually just doing some improvised weightlifting as an exercise. I pick up and lift up the can and up and down a few times like some sad imitation of a bodybuilder, even though it's weighing down my arms painfully. The stupid grin disappears from his face for a second, then comes back like it was never gone. Tezuka, would you give us a second? The nurse grabs me by the shoulder without waiting for Vince's permission, which he didn't need in the first place, and drags me aside. When I told you to exercise, I wasn't joking. I understand that you are still on your first week and all, but please don't ignore the importance of this. The reason I'm coming down this hard on you is that habits are not easy to form. The more you slip and postpone, the harder it'll be. It's the same with everything, like dieting. Can you please promise me to be more serious from now on? You say steak. Yes. Because it's a question! Well, obviously, I need to be better, so yes. Yeah, I promise. Definitely. He studies me for a moment and then he shrugs, smiling again. Okay, that's more like it. If you go to the school track tomorrow morning, you'll meet my spy, who probably has no qualms offering consultation to you. If you want to jog a bit. Consultation? See you around! He leaves with a wave of his hand and no answer, and I walk to Rin, who has been waiting, idly leaning against the hallway wall and staring at the pale lighting fixtures in the ceiling. Even when I approach, she doesn't move her eyes off them. Okay, I'm gonna end it here. I think 30 minutes recording. So I'm gonna see if I can push this in the week instead of just being just a Sunday thing. So yeah, I'm gonna leave you with a high five. Hope you enjoyed. Look forward to the next one. So here, woo!
I'm gonna scrub you both down later. You okay?
Oh, she does think
You okay? Stop that! Don't mimic her.
She's like their mother.